Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Neidl here. I'm the co-founder of the OpenAir Collective. Really excited today as part of our Carbon City initiative to be talking to some folks who have a really interesting carbontech solution that's a great fit for New York City. I think they can confirm this, going to be maybe the first of its kind in the world, which makes sense for a city like ours. Really excited to be joined by Doug Staker from CarbonQuest and with Jeff Hanson and Chuck Rotondo from Glenwood Mason Supply. Hey, guys, how you doing?
Hey, Chris.
You're doing good.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and start with just some quick introductions. Doug, can you just introduce CarbonQuest to us real quick and yourself?
You bet. I'm Doug Staker, Vice President of Business Development for a company called CarbonQuest. We're a startup here in New York City. We're focused on developing in-building carbon capture systems. I'm sitting in the basement of a building here at 1930 Broadway. It's a Glenwood residence, the multifamily property, and we have installed the world's first building carbon capture system.
Fantastic. And we're going to see that in just a minute. And we have Jeff and Chuck. Tell us about Glenwood.
So Glenwood is the only producer of concrete block in all 5 of the boroughs. We've been in business for many, many years here in Brooklyn. And we're also a distributor of other masonry products, but our bread and butter here at Glenwood is certainly concrete block.
All right, so let's talk about what the solution is and what's this connection between capturing carbon in Manhattan and concrete that's made in Brooklyn. Let's start with you, Stake, if we can. Doug, give us a little bit of more of a view of the technology that you have installed there in Broadway on the site where you are.
You bet. I'll take you in and walk you through the room, give you the tour. But fundamentally, what we're doing is we pull some of the exhaust from the boiler system, which has 4 key constituents: water vapor, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and nitrogen. We pull them into a system, we cool it, we take the water out, we've got the 3 remaining gases, we pressurize that, we run that through a system that's known as a pressure swing adsorption system, series of tanks with adsorbent in them. Those adsorbents hold on to the different gases at different pressure levels. So we fill them up, we pressurize them, we bleed them off. Oxygen and nitrogen goes back into the chimney where they came from. CO2, we direct through some valving and a vacuum pump. We bring it out, take it over to a stage where we compress it and cool it some more. We store it in a tank, and about every other day, we've got about 750 gallons that will be ready to be pumped to the street to our partner there at Glenwood Mason Supply, who are providing the trucking service for us to haul that out to their facility to use that CO2 to be injected into the concrete blocks that they make. And I'll let the guys talk about that a bit. But once those blocks are injected and cured and ready to go, they come back to their customer here at Glenwood Properties. These blocks behind me were actually built by Glenwood Mason Supply. So we like to talk about the circular economy of this business. And what we're doing is taking carbon dioxide and transforming that into calcium carbonate, which makes those blocks stronger and it makes them cure faster.
Yeah, that's great. So, Stake, we take the sustainable CO2, bring it here, and we have technology that will transform the CO2 into a solid, and we're able to inject it into our block, and it permanently stays there, regardless if the block's cut out in the field for construction or what have you. So we have a big commitment here to the sustainability into our environment. Connie Sincata, the owner of our company, has made that investment 5 years ago, and she continues. And hooking up with the CarbonQuest people is just great because we're able to complete that circular economy with them. And just like Stake said, you know, the block behind him is made with the CO2 sequestered in New York City, brought here to Brooklyn, right in the middle of Brooklyn, and sent back into Manhattan. So we're working hard on it. We're continually trying to improve it. Stake, you going to take us for a little tour?
You bet. You bet.
Okay.
You know, it's key to remember that, you know, we've got products that are made in New York. So let me take you through here. Now we're going to walk you into the carbon capture room here. So if you look behind me is the flue that the exhaust is going up into the chimney. So our system here, the first stage, we come out and this is our diverter. So this is the pipe that we take the flue gas from, and we pull it out through this pipe. We cool it right through this heat exchanger over here. I'm going to take you through, hold tight here, we'll walk through. And here we are at the compressor stage. So we've got the gas flowing through here into the compressor. Comes over, we get one series of drying over here. This is a desiccant dryer. We want that gas as dry as it can be. It gets pumped over here to, this is where all the magic occurs. This is the pressure swing absorption system. There's 9 tanks here, and they cycle in series here to allow continuous flow. So as we get the flow through there, and then through an intricate valving system, we're able to redirect this so that we send the nitrogen back up the chimney, and we send the CO2 over to the next phase here, over to the vacuum pump and the liquefaction stage. And so CO2 is an interesting gas to work with, property to deal with. When you pressurize it and cool it, we'll transform it into a liquid. So this system right here does that first transformation, pressurizes it to 275 psi, cools it down to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It goes up into a set of heat exchangers, goes up to these heat exchangers up here, gets cooled, and then put into this tank here, which is a vacuum jacketed cryo tank, holds 750 gallons of CO2. And when it is full, we take things and we run it through this pump system up to the street level. And the truck's waiting out there, and we pump it out to the street. And then we send it out to Jeff, that's about 18 miles away via the Queensboro Bridge. So that's what we're up to.
So it all stays within the city. And just to, again, underscore, you're taking carbon dioxide right from a source, and then you're putting it in concrete where it locks it away forever. So you're really sequestering carbon in a building, in the most common, building material on Earth. And so I wonder if Chuck and Jeff, can you just tell us a little bit about what happens on your end? Because some people are more familiar now with carbon utilization in concrete. Can you tell us a little bit about the technology and your partner there? And then maybe we can talk a little bit about the scale of impact here, because I know you guys are the biggest block producer in the 5 boroughs. So maybe we can talk about those two things.
Yeah, so the CO2 that Stake is taking out of the building there is referred to as recycled or sustainable CO2, and which is great. Again, we're keeping that circular economy here. So it comes to our plant, like I said earlier, Chris, and we have CarbonCure technology. Again, it takes that gas, turns it into a solid, a mineral. We're able to inject it into our block. Again, it stays there forever. And we are working with the P2I group from the state of New York to validate a lot of these findings and what we're doing and how much we're sequestering. We have the capability of manufacturing 10 million block here, which equates to, I'm going to refer to Stake here to help me out.
About 150 metric tons a year will get injected into those blocks.
How great is that? It's keeping our environment clean and keeping it all in-house in New York City.
And all of your blocks, I would presume, are mostly serving the local market as well. So we're talking about a really localized circular sequence here.
Absolutely, Chris. In 5 boroughs, we're the guys here. And I would say 95% of our material goes here in the 5 boroughs.
That's amazing. So we just have a few minutes left, and I wanted to end with a couple of questions. I mean, I know I've worked with Glenwood. You guys were great supporters of another bill that passed in New York last year, focused on low carbon concrete. I know you're getting solar. You guys just really are overperforming in terms of your commitments to sustainability, which is awesome to see. But I'm curious if you could both answer. First, we'll start with Doug, and then we'll talk to the Glenwood guys. Is what makes this appealing for a building owner? We'll start with CarbonQuest here in New York City. What's the rationale for your client to go forward with your technology?
For our customer, Glenwood Properties, their focus is they're concerned about the environment. They have at the top level, they want to make a difference and they want to impact and not only just be part of the problem with the emissions that are emitted from buildings, but trying to figure out how do we help solve that problem. And so the ownership here is very concerned about the environment and their effect around that. Now, Local Law 97 is going to kick in and help reinforce the business case around this. So not only will we be able to reduce the carbon emissions from the building and then also drive revenue from the sales of the CO2 and utilization in the block, which Jeff can talk about. His customers are looking for greener building products as well. It's all around that we're seeing more and more focus on what are demonstrable ways that they can show that they're actually impacting and reducing carbon emissions into the local environment.
Great. Yeah. If you guys could add to that a little bit about how you see it from your customers and maybe put some color on what Doug was just talking about.
Yeah, so Chris, this comes all to like-minded people working together. I mean, Connie Sincata and our group here at Glenwood are committed to our environment and committed to a clean environment, a better environment. So I'm working with the CarbonQuest people and utilizing their technology, and CarbonCure people and their technology, and then working with the businesses that are out there. We're doing work with Disney and Amazon, and maybe Chuck, you can add.
Yeah, I mean, there's a brand new headquarters going up in the city for JP Morgan, enormous building, and we're talking to the design team for that project about the block that's going to be used on the building there. So just this morning we had a design team in here for a brand new project, and the challenge has been getting the word out to people, because this is a somewhat new initiative for us. And I made mention of it this morning to this design team that came in, and right away they were absolutely, we need to score as many points as we can. The owner is certainly conscious about sustainability. So I think the demand is definitely going to increase as time goes on for this type of product and technology. Yeah. So we're excited about it. We're excited to be out in front of it.
Great. Well, I'll just end with this, and maybe Doug, we can close with this. Is for both of you, is there anything that we could think of on the policy side? What is it that the public sector or government can do at the city or state level to try to really elevate and accelerate solutions like this, which obviously add a lot of value from a climate perspective and from a job perspective? So I don't know if you have anything to add on that front.
There's a lot of emerging technologies in the carbontech space that look to be very opportunistic to take CO2 and transform it rather than just inject CO2 into the ground as a way to store it. So this whole carbontech economy that's developing looks very positive in New York. We think that some policies towards, making mandatory green concrete or giving some sort of credits and benefits around that, or tax incentives or things like that, all that's going to do is help reinforce that everybody is moving in the same direction, and all ways to reduce emissions are important and have value.
It's great. And it does look like New York is really, as you mentioned, is really emerging as a real center for carbontech. And it's not a mistake, I guess, that this project is happening in New York and not somewhere else. So,
and I would just add, educating local and regional leaders about the technology is critical to its success. I think a lot of them have, heard of things like this, but they don't really have a genuine understanding of it yet. And that's what's really exciting to me about working with, you, Chris, and Doug, CarbonQuest. And I think education is really important.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to make happen. So we're really excited to see two New York companies really taking the lead on this. And I know you guys have sort of a big milestone coming up. I think you'll be going live with this project imminently, right? Within the next month or so, I believe.
As the winter heat turns on here, it's been pretty warm here in New York, but as the heat turns on, we're going to start stashing CO2. And we've got Jeff's plant all ready to go. And we'll be moving CO2 out to those guys and putting New York-made CO2, sustainable CO2, into their blocks, hopefully for Christmas.
Yes, that's the ultimate goal by the end of this year, to be running full tilt with carbon sequestration here in Brooklyn, New York.
I love it. So we'll definitely be following your progress and your story and, sharing it with the world, but really excited about what you're doing, because it really is, it's a historic moment. It really hasn't happened anywhere else. And it just shows a whole other way in which urban creativity can try to tackle problems that are, facing the world. So thanks guys so much for your time, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate reaching out.